Hi, this is Jessie Skibby, Chief Compliance Officer with KirkpatrickPrice. This is our 5th video in our series for navigating HITRUST CSF compliance. This video today is really about those of you that may be brand new to HITRUST. We get a lot of calls and people really don't know where to start. And it's understandable. This may be another framework, a new framework to you, or something that was just requested based on a client demand. So I want to give you the first 5 things that you should do to really get yourself on the path to compliance. So we're starting with step number 1. Step number 1 is to familiarize yourself with the HITRUST CSF. How you do that is you go to their website and you download it. Some of you may not know it's free to download as long as you're a qualified organization. And reading it and understanding it can be kind of tedious. It is about a 586-page document. If you have any trouble navigating the controls themselves, please refer back to a previous video that I recorded that really breaks that down for you to hopefully help you figure that out. The other thing, the reason why you should have it is because whether you're going through a self-assessment, whether you're going through a validated assessment, it's just a great resource to have on hand. All of the controls are laid out, every single implementation requirement is listed, as well as how it maps to other frameworks. As I mentioned, it's a lengthy document, it's full of great information, and it's definitely the very first thing that you should have when you start working on your HITRUST CSF compliance. Step 2 in the process is really defining the scope of your assessment. Whether you're doing a self-assessment or a validated assessment, or whether you're having this in a SOC 2 report, you need to know what defines the scope. Where are those systems in your network that really contain the data that need to be protected? In some organizations, this may be a business unit. You may be able to separate that based on geographical location. In fact, if you're a smaller organization, it may be your entire network, your entire organization. So really knowing where that scope is, where those boundaries are, will really help you determine which people you need to involve from those respective business units into your project as you head down this path. So using things like network diagrams, like business units, and geographical locations can really help you narrow down the scope. Remember that the systems containing the ePHI are really what you want to focus on. Where are those systems located? How can you define scope around that to know where you're starting for your assessment? Step 3 in the process is understanding which assessment type and report option are right for you. The report options that HITRUST has in place right now, there's 5 of them. The most common, which is what we see most often, is the security assessment. The security assessment requires the evaluation of 66 controls right now as of version 8.1. There's also an option to add privacy to that assessment if that applies to you. Also, something to consider is what's called the comprehensive assessment, and that includes all 149 controls within the framework. That may or may not be used based on your internal requirements versus those going for certification to satisfy a client requirement. Another framework available to you, or another type of assessment, is the NIST cybersecurity framework. That's less common, but it is available to you if that's something that you want to pursue. So once you've decided the assessment option, you have to determine which report is right for you. So the report options that you have available to you are listed here, starting with the SOC 2. The SOC 2, because of the relationship or the agreement that is in place between the AICPA and HITRUST, allows you to utilize the HITRUST framework within the SOC 2 report. What that really means is that as a third party, as a CPA firm, we are attesting to the compliance, your compliance against the framework. That's much different than actual certification, so it's important to understand. A SOC 2 plus using the HITRUST framework without certification is not certification. So it's really important to understand the difference there. Your next option on the list here is a SOC 2 plus HITRUST certification. Now that may be used if, for example, you already have a SOC 2 to satisfy some of your clients and you want to add HITRUST certification to satisfy the others. It really combines both into one process, but keep in mind in this situation, whenever certification is involved, HITRUST and the MyCSF tool are always involved, as HITRUST is the only one that can issue that certification. So this is just a way of combining those 2 reports into one. You also have, as a report option, the HITRUST self-assessment. Now, going through the MyCSF tool, answering and responding to all of the requirement statements, you do have the ability to get a self-assessment report from HITRUST in that scenario. This is a minimal level of providing assurance to your clients, but it is a really good way, and it's the fastest way to get a report demonstrating to someone what your compliance is. The most popular, is the HITRUST CSF Validated Assessment. This is what's actually required for certification. So if certification is a requirement, you really have two options here: using the SOC 2 and HITRUST combined effort, or pursuing the validated assessment to get your certification. Okay, so by now we have downloaded the CSF, we understand the meaning and the intent behind the risk management framework, we've effectively scoped our environment, we know which systems and which business units are in that scope, we have decided which assessment type and which report option we're going to go forward with. So the very next thing to do would be step number 4, and that is assemble a project team and develop a plan. So really what that means is you're going to assign responsibility and you're going to make sure you have the right players involved in the process. So depending on your scope, you may have various business units, various geographical locations to pull in. And the reason why you need this team is that the HITRUST risk management framework really incorporates policies, procedures, administrative and technical control. So having the right people to address the requirement implementations is really key. So assemble that team of people, make sure that policies and procedures are addressed as well as the technical implementation of the controls, and divide that and conquer it so that you can have help when you are facilitating your plan. So at this point, we've downloaded the CSF, we've established our scope, we've chosen an assessment type and a report option, we've assembled our internal team to begin working on our compliance. Step 5 in this process that I want you to be aware of is the relationships that you must build. If your end result is a validated assessment, if you're working towards achieving CSF certification, you need to understand that you have to have a relationship with HITRUST directly. So in our diagram here, you as the client must also maintain a relationship with HITRUST. You also have to maintain a relationship with an assessor firm, such as KirkpatrickPrice. So there's really a 3-way relationship going on. The assessor firm has to be an approved assessor firm by HITRUST. So the relationship there must already exist. So establishing a relationship directly with HITRUST to get you on track with your self-assessment or get signed up for your validated assessment is something you want to plan ahead of time to make sure that you're going to meet your deadline. Also involving your assessor firm when that's reasonable for you. So if you need help with any of the steps 1 through 4, you may want to consider involving your assessor firm early. Some of the things, such as the self-assessment process that you go through, may be done on your own, but it may also involve assessor firm to act as a guide. You may need some help along the way with policies, procedures, or general guidance. Feel free to involve your assessor firm earlier on in the process to make sure that you're on the right track. Definitely, when you put your project plan together, you're going to want to make sure that your assessor firm can meet your deadlines as far as when you want to have your report done. Well, that concludes our 5-step process. Keep in mind these are not the only 5 things you have to do, just the first 5 things that we're recommending you start with. If you need help along the way, please consider involving your assessor firm, such as KirkpatrickPrice. You can contact us directly at the link below. We hope you found this information useful, and we thank you for your time today.